Hey guys, how's it going? It's El Platano Loco back with our review series number 4. In this review, we're actually going to go over, I believe we have 9 cards that we're going over. So stay tuned and let's get right into it. So, our first card here is Imprisoned Antaean. It is a 5 mana 10/6 Demon Hunter minion that reads Dormant for 2 turns. When this awakens, deal 10 damage randomly split among all enemies. So, this card has been the talk of the town for a lot of the streamers that were reviewing it. I think it's very, very powerful just based alone on stats. Now, granted, with Dormant, the way that it works is 2 turns, the card is not able to do anything, and then after that, it usually has a very strong effect. So, getting past that Dormant for 2 turns is okay. Your opponent still has to awkwardly play around developing a board that is higher than 10 damage, or higher than 10 health, rather. So I feel like this card is going to be very, very powerful. And you can run 2 ofs in the deck, so you're not short on any kind of heavy damage. So this card is actually comparable to Avenging Wrath, the 6 mana paladin spell that deals 8 damage randomly split among all enemies, because this doesn't target only minions like Reno. So I think it's going to be very interesting. It's still very bursty. 10 damage is a lot, even on turn 7. So just the fact that this is a humongous minion, 10 attack is ridiculous. And it also has that ability that your opponent has to find a way to play around awkwardly. I think this is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Imprisoned Antaean, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Dragon Maw Overseer. Dragon Maw Overseer is a 3 mana 2/2 priest minion with the effect that reads, at the end of your turn, give another friendly minion +2/+2. So honestly, I kind of understand what they're going with in the direction of priest. They want to kind of broaden up the horizons here, and from what we've seen in the past with priest and this kind of buff archetype, it has been limited to more so to combo priest. But I think that Overseer seems pretty solid, especially with the change to Power Word Shield being from 1 mana to 0 mana, giving this a +2 health and make it more resilient to stick on board. So as far as the buff effect, I think that it is pretty powerful, stronger than the 2 mana 2/2 minion of the past that used to buff at the end of the turn as well. So I think that this card does have some promise in a tempo priest. Now, whether that deck is going to be viable enough to make it into standard is another question, but we'll see. I think this card is decent. +2/+2. If this goes off 2 times, you're already up. Each time this does buffs is 1 mana worth of buffs. So I like this card. I like what they're trying to do, but whether or not it's good is another thing. But Dragon Ball Overseer, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Our next card here is Underlight Angling Rod. Underlight Angling Rod is a 3 mana paladin weapon that is a 3/2, and it reads, after your hero attacks, add a random Murloc to your hand. This card is actually really interesting. For 3 mana, you're getting a 3/2 weapon, which is decent. They usually kind of go along that stat line for most of the paladin/warrior weapons. And it generates 2 Murlocs, if you think about it, after your hero attacks, right? So you get 2 Murlocs, which is value. Is a decent value, and it also gives you some kind of either aggressive kind of path, because usually paladins run True Silver Champion as their weapon of choice, because it is like a 4 attack and 2 durability. This is 1 mana less, but you trade off the healing for 2 Murlocs, which can be pretty decent. I don't know. We'll see what other Murlocs they add to the pool, but it's fairly statted, and it also has an upside whenever you attack. So I think that Underlight Angling Rod is a 3 out of 5. You'll probably run this in some mid-range, or you can run this as well in the Murloc Paladin deck as well. So just more gas for Murloc Paladin. Run it as a 2 of, and just constantly generate more and more Murlocs. Yeah, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Now our next card here, Marsh Hydra. Marsh Hydra is a 7 mana 7/7 minion. So as far as that, seems pretty solid. After this attacks, add a random 8-cost minion to your hand. Okay, so this is another card that fits into that big druid archetype that has been present in Hearthstone for a while now. This is just another piece to the puzzle. Giving it that rush as well as that ability to generate 8-cost minions, which kind of, lines it up as far as mana cost, right? Because you first, on turn 7, if you play this, the following turn you could play the 8-drop that you do discover off of this, or you add to your hand. But, this one, the rush gives it something instant, because you always want the minion to do something when you drop it, when you get into that 7 to 10 mana range. So it has that going for it. And if this is able to generate 2 minions, that's already an upside, but probably not really a standard card. I feel like most of the time, if it's a 7, 8, 9, 10 cost card, you want it to be doing something significant as well as instant. So, I don't know. Marsh Hydra, kind of also middle of the road. I don't think this is bad. I don't think this is very good. It has rush, so it has that going for a beast tag. So maybe you actually play this. Now I'm starting to think about there's a druid card that draws a beast and doubles the health. So if you play that into this, is a 14 health on the 7/7 on a 7 mana card. So maybe this does see play. Marsh Hydra, I'm going to give it just for that reason that there are some supporting cards to this, and we might see some more. I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Our next card here, this one I should have reviewed it a little bit earlier, but it kind of just fit in with this group of cards here. Shadow Jeweler Hanar. Shadow Jeweler Hanar is a 2 mana 1/5 minion that reads, after you play a secret, discover a secret from a different class. So as we see, Blizzard is pushing this secret archetype with Rogue, especially with this card, which is insanely statted. 1/5 for 2 mana, you're not going to clear that at least until turn 3, turn 4. You think about, I think about cards with Evil Miscreant. Evil Miscreant was a 3 mana 1/5, and that thing stuck for ages, especially when you're getting value from secrets that can actually either protect this card, like giving a Divine Shield with the Paladin 1 mana secret auto defense, or Freezing Trap, Snake Trap, Venomous Snake Trap. There are a lot of cards to, incentivize running this secret package, and I think that Shadow Jeweler Hanar is going to be very powerful just because it's going to be very hard to remove, and they want to encourage you to be able to play at least 1 or 2 secrets to get value out of this thing. Secret Rogue, if you're going to play it, this is going to be a centerpiece, of course. And I really see some promise, at least with this card here. Maybe just run 2 secrets and just try to chain them together on a late game turn. You could play it early and combo it with, Invoke Praise Galakron card. I really like this card. Very, very good stats. Solid body for the minion. Very interesting effect. And remember, it's Discover, so you do get to pick between 3 cards. I'll give Shadow Jeweler Hanar a 5 out of 5 stars. Our next minion here is a 2 mana demon. Imprison Scrap Imp. It reads, dormant for 2 turns. When this awakens, give all minions in your hand +2/+2. So from what we see so far, it's very solid as far as stats. 3/3 for a 2 mana is already pretty good, but remember, you have to think about this more so as the 2 mana is the investment up front, and then the dormant leaves it unplayable for 2 turns. So this is essentially kind of like a 4 mana, 2/3 kind of. This one is interesting. I mean, I don't know what deck you play this in. I'm trying to think. If you're playing it in Zoo, usually in Zoo you want to be super aggressive and constantly tempoing out minions early game and just curving out, just constantly smarking the enemy down. But then you got Scrap Imp. It could buff +2/+2 is pretty significant. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's interesting though. Maybe we have some more supporting cards for this that benefit more so from hand buffs. So I'm not 100% sure how to rate this thing yet, but 2/2 is pretty solid, and it kind of just sits there for 2 turns and then activates so you can gather resources, aggressively tap into that turn 4. I'm gonna give Scrap Imp a 3 out of 5 because I need to see what other cards they have in this set to support this. Our next card here is the Lurker Below. The Lurker Below is a 6 mana 6/3 shaman minion that reads, Battlecry, deal 3 damage to an enemy minion. If it dies, repeat on one of its neighbors. So this is actually pretty insane. I didn't really understand the effect at first. I thought that it does 3, and then if it kills that, it'll just do it one more time to the minion next to it. But this is pretty much like a Lord Godfrey effect, where if it kills a minion, it loops that effect over and over until it doesn't kill something. So if you set up in a way that you weaken all of your opponent's minions to 3 health, and you target one, it kills that, goes to the next, goes to the next, goes to the next, until it clears the whole board. This is actually pretty insane. The Lurker Below has a lot of potential. They're really trying to push this shaman, this very control-y type of shaman, from what I've seen in expansions so far. Either that or evolve. Control and evolve is what they're pushing a lot. I'm going to give Lurker Below 4 stars because this is actually really insane if you pull it off. And around the time when you're able to play it, which is turn 6, I'm pretty sure you could get the effect of at least on 1 to 3 minions. And if you're killing 2 minions with this thing, that's already pretty strong. If you're killing anything more than that, if you're able to clear a whole board, that's tremendous value. So 4 out of 5 stars for the Lurker Below. Our next card here is Terran Gore Fiend. So this was announced with the initial set of cards, but I didn't really get around to reviewing it yet. But it's a 3 mana 3/4 legendary minion that reads, Battlecry, destroy all friendly minions, and the death rattle is to resummon them with +1/+1. So there's a couple of implications with this card. It can be used in a swarmy deck. You trade all of your minions, you eat them, and then when this pops, it resummons them with +1/+1. So giving it that buff when this dies, and it's resummoning all your minions. That's one implication. So maybe if you're trying to avoid like a clear or AoE, then you could like temporarily just destroy all your minions and avoid the let's say Flame Strike or Blizzard or anything like that. That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is Death Rattle minions benefit greatly from this because you activate it's essentially like a cube, right? You destroy all friendly minions, so if you have multiple Death Rattles, you eat them, activate the Death Rattles, and then when this dies, it summons the original form, but buffed. So I'm pretty sure people are going to make use out of this in a lot of decks. It's a neutral legendary, so that's very, very strong. This card is at least a 4 to 5, but I'm going to give it a... I'm going to give this a 4. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. And our last card here, Warmaul Challenger. Warmaul Challenger is a 3 mana 1/10 that reads, Battlecry, choose an enemy minion and battle it to the death. So what this Battlecry does is you target a minion, let's say it's a 2/4, right? If it's a 2/4, this attacks it 4 times, taking 8 damage, and then you're left over with a 1/2. But if it's a minion that has a high health total, very low attack, let's say it's a 1/8 or 1/5, like the rogue minion, the jeweler, remember? So if you target the jeweler with this thing, then it attacks it 5 times, and then you'll be left over with a 1/5. I think that this was kind of like set in place to check certain minions like that that have very, very great effects, but semi-low attack. So Warmaw Challenger, it is very flexible, and you can combo it with things like Frothing Berserker that a lot of people have been mentioning. So, or even like Armor Smith. Let's say you have 2 Armor Smiths on the board, and then you throw out Warmaw Challenger just to attack something with low attack 5 times. You get 2 armor for each interaction there. And if you have Frothing Berserker, you're also getting +2 on each attack. So I think that this thing is really interesting. Very cool effect. I'm going to give Warmaw Challenger a 4 out of 5. And that's it, guys. Part 4 in the books. We are on the way to probably the midway as far as like the card releases. So be prepared for the next one. We're going to jump right back into it very, very soon. So stay on the lookout for that. Make sure if you like the content to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. Make sure to tune in to the next one. I'm going to leave some links in the description below with some of our socials, and we'll also have some in the video here. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.